Welcome to Masterpiece Women. This is Tina Raines, and I'm the founder of Masterpiece Women, and I am so excited to have you here today. We are a community of authentic women from all over the world, growing together personally, professionally, building businesses and ministries together. Grab a cup of coffee or your favorite tea and sit back and grow with us. Thanks for being here, ladies. Welcome back, Masterpiece Women, to our podcast. And today's podcast is a little bit different because in our membership, we have been going over the Think and Grow Rich program with the biblical application. And today I was preparing for the very last class, and it's a chapter that we hadn't actually recorded in our system previously. And I decided it was so important that I wanted to go ahead and record it. So as I was preparing for it, I thought, everyone out there needs to hear this message, because so often when I speak to leaders, the thing that holds them back from accomplishing their great thing or stepping out in faith and doing something different or reinventing themselves when God calls them to, they stay where they're at because of fear of the unknown, fear of failing, and oftentimes fear of what people are going to think. So as I was preparing for this program in Think and Grow Rich, it's actually, his chapter name is Epilogue, How to Outwit the 6 Ghosts of Fear. I don't believe that we need to talk about ghosts on Masterpiece Women. So I changed my title to How Do We Outwit Fear? Because you have to outwit fear. And it is something you can outwit. It's something you can overcome because your mind is so powerful. And so as we talk about that, I want to encourage you to take the steps to be very, very intentional about your mindset. Do programs that will enrich your mindset, whether it's one of ours in our membership or find another one. But do the programs that will help you to grow, that will help you to understand how to hold your thoughts captive and reprogram. Because if you do any of the research, like Dr. Carolyn Leaf and many others, scientists that are Christians will tell you, God created your brain that way, that you can outwit fear. You can outwit any negative habit, any negative thought, if you take the time to be intentional to do it. And so in Napoleon Hill, we did it with a biblical application, because some of it people go, oh, that's a little new agey or whatever. So I actually did it with the biblical application because I wanted you to see the biblical application that applies to it, because there's so much good content. And like anything that you do in a leadership book or any other book, I'm going to encourage you, even a Christian book, you have to discern it for yourself. And so we took all the great meat out of that book. I taught it to the women. We collaborated. We've been talking about it, discussing it, setting our goals each week, and doing all of that together in collaboration. And we discussed fear and how oftentimes it sets us back. I know for me, fear held me back from writing a book for years. And just recently, I wrote an article, and I'm writing 2 different books simultaneously right now. And the Lord showed me how it was fear that had been holding me back all this time. And as I started to write more and more, the Lord has just downloaded exactly what he wanted me to say. So it's like, why was I scared? You knew. I knew he would do it, but yet there was something in me that had to be broken and changed. And it came from me. I had to change my mindset. I had to reprogram my thinking to recognize that it was the lies of the enemy that was holding me back in fear. And so I want the same for you in every area of your life. So I thought I wanted to bring this to you as well as the women in our membership program. So if you're not in the program, you definitely want to join our membership platform. But let's talk about Napoleon Hill's last chapter. It talks about the descriptions. He talks about 6 specific descriptions that as he studied all these leaders for years. He did so much research, talked to all the people in his time that were the most powerful, wealthiest people of his time. And what he saw was that these 6 fears were the cause of discouragement. They were the causes of the timidity, procrastination. Pay attention to those: discouragement, timidity, procrastination, indifference, indecision, the lack of ambition, the lack of self-reliance, the lack of initiative, the lack of self-control, and the lack of enthusiasm. So are you lacking in any of those areas? If you are, I want you to step back and I want you to really listen to these fears and see what they have on you. What lie are you still believing? I want you to just search yourself and think about those characteristics. And do you see any of them in you? Take inventory, write them down. Now, if you're driving, don't write them down. Come back and do it. And you're going to see in our posting, I'm going to give you a link so that you can actually get the inventory to be able to just write. I have a whole little worksheet for you that you can download. So just email us and I'll put the little link here so you can fill it out. And I want you just to put your email in there and I'll shoot you over the link to be able to actually do this inventory. So I'm just going to say that these 6 lies are not ghosts as he described them, but they're the enemy. They're just trying to trip you up. They've caused so much damage to so many people that I know, and it's in their own minds. It's really in their minds that these fears have caused so much damage, not only in their minds, but physically you see them cause damage. It's caused more damage than any physical issue in the world. So when you think of them, the fear of poverty and scarcity is one that I see all the time. So many people stay stuck where they're at because of their fear of poverty. It seizes the minds of millions and millions of people. And think about the Great Depression. We saw it over and over, how it caused all this severe depression in the people. And there's 3 enemies that he describes in this last chapter that you have to get rid of as well, that you see all the time with people who have fear: indecision, doubt, and fear. We have to get rid of indecision. We have to get rid of doubt, and we have to get rid of fear. And the only way to do that, ladies, is to reprogram your minds. Many times you'll see these habits are hidden. They're in our subconscious mind. God created us that way. It's imperative that we pay attention when those lies come up, when those fears come up, when those thoughts come up. Hold them captive. Go, no, I refuse to accept that lie. I refuse to be fearful. And this is why, because God says I am fearfully and wonderfully made. He says that I am valuable. He says I am his masterpiece. He says that he loves me. I don't have to accept those fears. And so the 6 basic fears that Napoleon Hill names that are the most common are these: the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, and the fear of old age. And the last one, the fear of death. Those are all the main ones that he describes as being the worst fears. When you think of the many, many, many other fears that all can be grouped, think about, most of them can be grouped under these, can't they? You think about all the fears you might have. Which one of those categories that I just mentioned would they fall under? Most of them would fall under those main categories. And fears are nothing more than a state of mind. That's all they are. They're a state of mind. They are the enemy. And I want you to think of that. It's just the lie. It's a state of mind and it's a lie. And we can overcome lies. That's the victory that we have. And that's a beautiful thing, is that we can, but we have to reprogram our minds. And we've talked many, many times in our programs on how to control our minds. And I'm going to tell you the best way to do it's with scripture. Current and past psychologist studies have proven that you have the controls, that you have the capability of reprogramming your mind. And Dr. Carolyn Leaf says it takes 3 sets of 21 days to change a habit or to reprogram your mind. So that's my puppy dog that is barking. It takes 3 sets of 21 days to be able to reprogram our minds and to change a habit. We just have to do repetition, repetition, repetition. And Napoleon Hill calls it autosuggestion. So you take the lie and you replace it with the truth. And if you'll do that for 21 days and then do it again for 21 days, and then again, the studies previously said it only took 21 days, but the most recent research to really let go of the habit, to have the greatest success at changing habits, the greatest success at really changing our thought process in our subconscious, is 3 sets of 21 days, according to Dr. Caroline Leaf. So when you think about doctors is a great example. And Napoleon mentioned it in his book about how doctors actually, they take care of all these sick patients and they do it with no fear of getting sick. They're not afraid of getting sick, so they don't get sick. And it's really powerful when you think about it, and you think about how we can master our thoughts, and you think about the doctors, because they're not afraid of it, they don't get sick. And in Hebrews 11:1, it says, faith is the confidence in what we hope for and the assurance about what we do not see. So we don't see it, but we have the confidence and the assurance in him. So as we're thinking about fear and we're thinking about poverty, we cannot translate that into terms of courage or financial gain, can we? When we're thinking about being poor, it's really hard to think about how can I be successful? It's really hard to think about being courageous, to step out of our box and do something courageous when we're scared. So in essence, there's just not enough room in our brain for both. We need to choose which path we're going to take. It's like choosing the light versus the dark. It's the same concept. So I don't know about you ladies, but I know for me, what I think when I think about wealth, I want to think about wealth and what God will use me to do, and to how he's going to use me to steward his money that he provides so that I can do his work. So I'd much rather think about that versus thinking about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if I lose everything and I could have to go live in a homeless shelter. And so many of our fears are so unrealistic. Like if you really write down all your fears, realities are probably never, ever going to happen, but yet we allow them to hold us back. So I prefer to focus on being wealthy and doing what God's called me to do, not for my own personal gain, but because he's called me to do great things. And it takes money to build the kingdom. It takes money to impact people, to help. So that's my heartbeat. I don't know about you. What about you? What would you prefer, to be wealthy and think about that, or think about being poor? I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's true. People stay stuck in that. And so I want you to really translate, though, that whole concept and the word. And I did that with our ladies as well as in our group, is let's not think about it from, being rich for the sake of making money and buying the things we want. Think of being rich as being rich emotionally, being rich physically, being rich financially, spiritually, because it's so much more than being rich financially. You want to think about the spiritual gain. You want to think about the mental gain. You want to think about the financial gain. It all works together. And in this program, you have really been given a roadmap, a really great roadmap to riches, personally, financially, spiritually. We have touched on all of that. It's not just about the finances. So oftentimes I think people think about Think and Grow Rich. Oh, it's just about growing rich. Tina's just talking about making money. No, it's about being rich in spirit, rich in your mindset, rich in, yes, finances as well, but it all works together. And let me tell you, talk to any not-for-profit who's doing great things in the world. They have to raise money to be successful, to be able to do what God's called them to do. It takes money to be able to do the things he's calling you to do. So we have to make money. And what better way to do it than helping other, and do it from a place of generosity, where when we make money, we give a lot of money away. That's more fun than making the money. So it's your choice, ladies. I'm going to encourage you, every time you have a lie from the enemy, just stop it, hold it captive, replace it with the truth. Find the scripture that replaces that lie in your mind with the truth of God. Focus on your persistence. Focus on your vision statements. Your vision statements are so powerful. Right, you're in one of the first chapters in the Think and Grow Rich book, we talk about writing out your vision statement and repeating it, writing out every day for 30 days, so that it sticks in your mind, so that when you're reprogramming with that vision of what you're going to be, and you're saying what it's going to be, what your vision is today, not 2 years from now, but today, the vision of where you're going to be in your vision statement, your why. And when you replace those lies with all of that truth and the dreams that God has put in your heart, just watch the fear go away. It's amazing. And I promise you, if you will do it intentionally, the fear will go away. So Napoleon Hill says that the fear of poverty is a state of mind, nothing else, but is sufficient to destroy one's chances of achievement in any understanding. The fear of poverty paralyzes the faculty of reason. It destroys the faculty of imagination, kills off self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm. It discourages initiative. It leads to uncertainty of purpose. It encourages procrastination, wipes out enthusiasm, and makes self-control impossible. So all of that comes from the fear of poverty, according to Napoleon Hill. And I've seen examples of that in many people's lives, even in my own in some areas in the past. And so I'm going to encourage you again, take control. He says that fear of poverty is without a doubt the most destructive of the 6 basic fears. It's also the most difficult to master. It takes courage to master where the origin of the fear comes from. And I believe that many of us, that's our greatest obstacle, is getting to the root of where do our fears come from and addressing it and opening up maybe wounds that you don't want to open up. I encourage you, if you need to, go get a great counselor, open up those wounds, get a mentor, whatever that is that you need to do to be in a safe place to be able to open up those wounds and debride them and get rid of them so that you can overcome them. And he puts a huge emphasis in this chapter on self-analysis and encourages us to really ask a friend to analyze us. I'm going to encourage you, ladies, do a 360. Ask your friends to analyze you as well and see if they see any of these fears in you. Sometimes these fears will creep in very subtly, and we don't even know that we have them. And so the symptoms that you'll see in the fear of poverty: indifference. We see this commonly expressed through the lack of ambition, willingness to tolerate poverty, acceptance of what